Hey, welcome back to Car Talks, where I rant, ramble, rave, word vomit my thoughts on training life and fitness. And thinking about one of the big mistakes I see a lot with at least the local high schools I deal with, in terms of like what they're missing in their training, and a lot of it has to do with posterior strength. So we get a lot of kids that come into our facility. A lot of them come in from local high schools, and most of the time they're looking for speed development and getting faster. And one of the major things that we see in those athletes is that they really tend to be quad dominant. They tend to be very weak posteriorly. They come in, they've got great quads, they've even got good calf definition. A lot of them have fully developed chests, but they have very small backs, very small butts, and very small hamstrings. And especially when we're looking at speed development, when we're looking at athletic performance, hamstrings, glutes, the posterior chain is a really crucial element of being able to perform, being able to handle the forces that are placed upon the body, right? And then we're looking at both an eccentric and concentric manner, especially when you're sprinting and sprinting at top end speeds. Being able to handle the stretch shortening cycle of kind of that gait cycle in sprinting is really crucial. And it's also really crucial for developing explosive hips, right? And so especially when you get some of these kids that are linemen, when you get some of these kids that are in these powerful positions, and I'll point to a lot of basketball players. We see this with basketball players a lot too, is that they're being very quad dominant doesn't really play in their favor to create violent hip extension. So I don't know, it's one of those things you got to be aware of, right? Like a lot of times they're squatting, they're benching, but how much time do you spend rowing? How much time do you spend deadlifting, RDLs, things like that? And that's just one of those things that I see a big problem with, is that a lot of high school kids are doing push to pull, right? Some more quad dominant and anterior work. They're doing like 1-to-1 or sometimes even 2-to-1, a push to pull ratio, when really it should be the opposite, right? We're really looking at about a 1-to-2. And part of that is because they're sitting all day and they're in this tight anterior position. They're not really engaged posteriorly, but it's one of those things where you can look at from a programming standpoint. If you can start to lean a little bit more towards pull than you do push, you're going to build healthier joints, and you're also going to set yourself up for better athletic performance. So it's just a common thing I see, and something to be aware of, especially for those high school kids that are out there. So making sure that they're doing their posterior work. So just a thought for the day. And until next time, we'll see you in the passenger seat.